Russian collusion. Okay. So the House Oversight Committee, which is going to call in the D.C. people, their big job now is to uncover hard evidence they can hand over to Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, to indict people in the Obama administration that ginned up and did illegalities concerning the phony story that Putin and Russia interfered in the 2016 election to throw it to Trump. That's what this investigation is all about. And you remember the special counsel investigations, Mueller on and on, okay? They came up with no evidence that Putin or Russia was favoring Hillary Clinton. That's the record. You can't deviate out of that record. Now, one guy who's deeply involved in this has a new book out. And I read the book, I mean, and it's very, very compelling. His name is General Michael Flynn. Okay, the book is called Pardon of Innocence, an aspiring story of faith and freedom. Now, General Flynn is a patriot. I mean, he served his country all over the place in dangerous zones like Afghanistan, and he is an intelligence expert. Here is his resume that I'm going to give you before I talk to him. So he's 66 years old. He's a Rhode Islander. In 2012, he was appointed by President Obama Director of Defense Intelligence, okay, the DIA. He served for 2 years there. But he disagreed with Barack Obama over how to confront terrorism in general, okay? Al-Qaeda, ISIS, all of that. So Obama had his vision, Flynn's vision didn't coincide. And Flynn left the Obama administration. He was a civilian then for about a year, and he developed a rapport with Donald Trump. So he helped Donald Trump in the 2016 campaign, and when Trump defeated Hillary Clinton, he was appointed National Security Advisor. But the Obama people, the FBI and others, were after Flynn because they believed he was part of a cabal that helped Putin interfere in the election. Okay? Very complicated. Extremely so. Ultimately, Flynn, to protect his son and other things, pled guilty to lying to an FBI agent. Remember, this whole thing was phony, okay? But then Flynn withdrew, and you can read all about that in his book, why he did it and all that. That's not what we're concerned with here today, all right? And then ultimately, President Trump pardoned General Flynn, and the case went away. But I don't think there's a guy who knows more about this Russian collusion hoax than General Flynn, and he joins us now from Washington, D.C. So the National Guard hasn't chased you around yet, has they, General?
Not yet, Bill, but I only walked the streets for about 2 minutes so far.
A lot of people feel the same way. All right, so did I encapsulate your story so that accurately?
Yes, you did, and very accurately, and I appreciate that. Because you're right. One of the words you use is complex. It's very complex.
It's an amazingly complex thing, and people who are interested in their country and interested in this whole fraud should read Pardon of Innocence, your book, because you go over it, and it's not 800 pages. I mean, you go boom, 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 and of course we verify everything you wrote. We're not putting you on here as some kind of guy. We check it all out.
Right.
So what I'm interested in with you is going forward. I feel that there are a number of people in legal trouble right now. Let's take them one by one. The first one is John Brennan. All right, the former CIA chief under Obama, 4 years. You know him well. You worked with him well. Do you see him in any legal jeopardy here? And if so, how?
Yeah, I do. I think of all of the characters that are surrounding Russiagate and this conspiracy to basically undermine the country, I think he's probably the one that is at most legal risk. And I'm not a legal scholar here, Bill, but I would tell you that I think that there's enough evidence and enough times where Brennan said things under oath that were not true, and so he's at risk there. And I think that's where the Department of Justice is going to hone in on.
All right, the perjury.
So I think he's the most. I think he's the guy that's at most risk.
Do you believe that Brennan, in his position as head of the CIA, was trying to help Hillary Clinton here? What was his motivation to deceive in the Russian collusion hoax? What motivated him?
Yeah, I think what motivated him, and it goes back to a whole series of presentations to Obama, because Obama is part of this, but I don't think we're going to see anything happen to Obama. But I do believe that they wanted Hillary to take the con of the United States of America post the Obama administration, and it goes back to very serious meetings, like 3 August 2016 is one of the first times when Brennan went in and briefed Obama on the dossier and let Obama know at that time that this thing was made up. Essentially, it was part of the Hillary Clinton campaign to have an October surprise to say, Trump is working with Putin, right, to help defeat him. And that particular meeting, which came out in the Durham report, to me, that's one of the most egregious acts by Brennan, where he began to promulgate this thing, and he did it with the president of the United States, in this case, Obama. So I think that where Brennan is at, there's going to be a series of data points and meetings and documents that are clear now, and Tulsi Gabbard's been releasing a lot of them, that are going to show a conspiracy to undermine the campaign of Donald J. Trump. And then once Trump won, then there was a series of those similar things to then undermine the duly elected president
All
of the
right,
United
once
States.
he won. Now, you're saying that Brennan in August of 16, when the campaign was underway, okay,
right,
knew that the Hillary Clinton dossier, the one that her campaign paid for, was phony. He told Barack Obama that. That's according to the Durham report. But Obama didn't quite believe it because he wanted another intel assessment, correct?
Yeah, I'm not so sure, Bill. Now you're asking, I'm speculating a little bit. I'm not sure where Barack Obama's, head was at that time. He might have had other information. He may have known that it was going on, or whatever he and Brennan talked about, mano a mano in the Oval Office in that meeting. But I would say that what Obama did do, and having worked with commanders and having worked with bosses when it came to intelligence, is to direct Brennan to continue to pull this thing together.
Okay, so he didn't
let's watch
say
and see.
it's bogus, ignore it. He said continue to investigate. Is that correct?
That's what I believe that they are going to find out. That he said continue to investigate, and it's clear later on with some of the other evidence that now is been exposed by Tulsi Gabbard.
Now, what about Hillary Clinton's campaign? Now, I feel that she will say, look, I don't know anything about this. My campaign people did it all. That's probably going to be her defense, right?
Yeah, I mean, she can do the old, Jim Comey, I don't recall, 150 times or whatever. That's going to be hard to believe. Now, she can do that in a court of law, or in wherever she wants to do that from a legal standpoint, and then throw the burden on Robbie Mook or somebody else like that, or campaign team. But it's certainly in the court of public opinion.
No, I got that. And particularly conservatives and people who don't like Hillary, they've already convicted her. But in a court of law, it's going to be hard if that's her defense, unless there's a memo or there's some kind of recording or a whistleblower that comes back and says, I was there and Hillary ordered whatever. Now, you mentioned Comey, who was the head of the FBI. He, at the same time, Brennan was looking at this phony Russian collusion accusation. There were two. There was the CIA and the FBI, right? They're both looking at it. And Comey came down where?
Yeah, so this is interesting. This is where it gets really complex, and I'll try to simplify it as much as possible. So it's not two different organizations looking at the problem. It's actually the two leaders, Comey and Brennan. And inside, this is where a very famous name that pops up, Peter Strzok, right? Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok was the deputy head of counterespionage for the FBI, but he was also a liaison to the CIA. So he was a conduit. And we also know of some other people in the Department of Justice, Bruce Orr, who's another name that people may not remember, but he was number 4 at the Department of Justice. So there was conversations that were moving this conversation between the FBI leadership and the CIA leadership, meaning Comey and Brennan. This is where Durham, I think, failed in his investigation to really connect these dots. But we now know this is whatever, I don't know, 8 years later, and people like Kash Patel, who was watching this very closely, and now he's the director of the FBI. Tulsi Gabbard, who's at the DNI level, who she's really exposing some of this. So there was a conversation that Comey and Brennan had at some point where they worked this out together between the FBI and the CIA. Because the last thing on this point, Bill, is that it wasn't the whole of the intelligence community that agreed on this. It was really two organizations, the FBI and the CIA.
Yeah, there was dissent. So do you believe that Brennan and Comey collaborated to foist a fraud on the public for political reasons? Do you believe that?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, so stop.
Yeah.
So that's what the oversight committee.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they have to not prove, but gather evidence to hand it to Bondi and to Patel. I don't know what they're doing, and we don't get a lot of, we're doing X, Y, and Z, but we do know what Congress is doing. And these people have been subpoenaed. They have to commit. Do you expect them to take the Fifth Amendment? Do you expect that Comey and Brennan are going to go, I won't answer?
Well, if they take the Fifth, which I have actually done a couple of times because of the burden that they put on you,
Sure,
which is their right to do. But if they take the Fifth, then you are open to have to go in front of a grand jury where you can't take the Fifth. Yeah.
Okay.
So this, to me, Bill, is something that they got to pay attention to.
Final question. There are a lot of conservatives who like to convict President Obama as being the mastermind of this whole thing, okay, that he directed it. To me, that evidence is not there after reading your book. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm. You're 100% right, Bill. I really don't think that people, as much as they feel and they're emotional about this, I think people need to get over the fact that Obama is going to be indicted and thrown into jail or something like that. I mean,
well, he's got executive privilege. He can order any investigation he wants. But if a president of the United States engaged in something like this, it's at the Richard Nixon Watergate level. But anyway, General, I just want on a personal note, I don't know you personally, but I followed your career and you're an unbelievable patriot. And you know me, I'm a pretty tough guy. I think you got hosed here so badly, and your son and your family, and they did this out of spite, they being the FBI in particular. Comey is a horrible man, in my opinion. I don't know if Brennan had anything to do with the legal charges. I don't think Obama protected you. I know he should have. He just sat it out. But that's my assessment. So I'd like everybody to take a look at Pardon of Innocence, an inspiring story of faith and freedom by General Michael Flynn. And it's a pleasure to talk to a real patriot today, General. We'll talk again soon, I hope. Thank you.
God bless.